Hello, everyone. Ooh, you got a good mic today.
I asked him to fix the mic.
That's fine. That's nice. Everybody's going to hear me today. All right, let's get started. So we're going to start off with some general announcements. I'm going to go through. Is it too loud?
I'm going to turn it down.
I could get closer, Cheryl.
We can leave.
Are we better?
We're better.
All right, good. I kind of enjoyed having the booming voice that you couldn't ignore, but oh well. All right, we'll get started with some birthdays. So I just want to make some announcements. These were all in the NUDA, if everyone's been reading that, but Bob Younger, Sunday the 6th.
Ooh, happy birthday, Bobby.
Jim Baird, Jim's not here, but he's actually on Friday.
Yeah, he's Friday.
Coming up. And then Tony and Ann Zollner on the 20th and the 27th. So got some good birthdays this month. And of course, yesterday was Pie Day. I assume you all ate your pie. I assume you all celebrate Pie Day. If you're not nerdy enough to celebrate Pie Day, please change your ways. 3.14, March 14th. Okay, good. Yeah, we're good. All right. Moving along. All right, what's going on tomorrow? So tomorrow is our March service project. This is again with Village Water Filters. And if you didn't participate last time, it was a really good time. I mean, you go in, you were assembling bucket water filters to help out folks, and these get shipped all over the world. And it's just amazing the way they work. And it's a fun time. It's easy, all ages. All you have to do is be able to sit there and snap pieces together. It's really fun. So I would encourage everyone to go. Again, it's tomorrow from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And their location is on South Division, a little north of 28th Street, I believe. And Cheryl did email some info out on the 7th, so check your emails if you'd like to participate. We'd love to see you there. Coming up also, actually, I'm going to do one more thing. These monthly service projects have been going pretty well, but we are still looking for suggestions. So if you have a cause that you're passionate about, Ann's nodding, she's got one. If you're on a nonprofit board and you'd like us to participate, please reach out to me, reach out to Cheryl or to Shara, and kind of just raise your hand and say, hey, I got a good idea. We'd be looking. We're always looking to do things that mean something to the members. So, Ann, looking forward to hearing yours. Okay, moving along. Committee announcements. The blind dinner date still moving along. I mentioned last time that we've decided to have the event again in August. Date is to come. And our next committee meeting, if you'd like to participate, is on the 31st of this month. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me or to Linda. We can get you more information, or to Cheryl. And Drive for Vision, I'm not sure if there's an update from anyone on that committee. Maybe Jeff. Anyone here on the Drive for Vision committee?
Yeah,
Oh.
There's nothing new. June 20th, I think, Monday.
Is the next meeting?
No,
That's the June.
County.
You said. Okay, so the date is June 20. Sounds like, and no new updates right now, but more to come. Moving into the district announcements, the District 11C1 convention is on May 14th in Rockford. If you're interested in that, check out the district website. The district website is in the NUDA, so take a look there. And the state convention is coming up May 20th through 22nd in Holland. And again, that website is in the NUDA.
No, it's not Holland.
Auburn Hills.
Auburn Hills.
I have Holland. Okay, so I'm just wrong. It's in Auburn Hills. Cheryl's making a liar out of me. That's okay. And then the international convention is June 25th through 29th in Quebec, Montreal. So take a look at those. And I mentioned it before, all the links are in the NUDA, all this birthday information is in the NUDA. John Rice is doing a fantastic job of getting all this collated and down into a digestible format. So if you're not getting those out when you get them in your emails, please do. There's good information in there. All right, I'm going to move on now to our tail twister. And since Jamie is not here, Mr. Lally has volunteered.
Ooh.
Go for it, sir.
I'm not sure it was a volunteer.
He was voluntold.
But I kind of relaxed when he asked would I be a tail twister on the chair of a committee. So that, in any event, the first duty I have to do is find myself $1. I was running late without a pin, so I could waive. I could waive. How much?
How much greed you have?
Well, That's the second dollar, okay? Look, I'm a good Irishman, but it's not till Thursday, okay? And I must have missed the, but I'm looking around, at least our Dutchman here is got his green on, okay? So I'm not gonna find anybody for not, oh, well.
I'm gonna pay for not wearing my pin machine.
Okay,
So,
all
there you
right,
go.
thank you.
I remembered the green.
Are we finding for not wearing green? Yep. I'm gonna let you go. Here's a green.
Not too smart.
Jeez. Do I have any more over here? We'll take that, Tony.
That's a happy buck.
What's a happy buck?
Since I was gone, January, February, March on vacation.
Wow.
You guys see that?
I think we should all be
Jeez, I was gone this week too. I gotta put some-
Yeah.
I wasn't
Bring
gone,
that up.
I wasn't gone as long as you were though. You trying to hide all over here or not? Anything at this Yes.
We don't have, unless the
You want
speakers,
to change?
no, unless the speakers give their time, this is for readers, so.
Are there any other happy announcements or anything? Okay.
Yes, he said.
I'm gonna collect cards. Have you got cards?
Oh, Rob.
Rob, here's a happy buck.
I don't want it to be known that I got more than Jamie's ever got for the last.
It's okay. Here's another one. Cheryl and I were in New York this past weekend for Lions Day at the UN. I got to speak on a panel. We weren't in the UN because the UN is closed to the public and they're kind of busy with the Security Council, but it was in a hotel right next to the UN. So UN Lions Clubs International signed the original charter for the UN in 1945. So every year they have an event at the UN with them to kind of go over all the service that we're both doing. So it was a lot of fun to be at least we walked around the UN. So Cheryl got to see it from the outside.
This is the biggest happy buck. I'm paying my happy bucks a little bit here too, okay? I was gone with Jeff and Bob playing golf in Arizona, okay? But don't let Jamie know. We had a pretty
That
good
goes to
haul.
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff
This goes
gets
to
it?
I get the cards.
You get the cards.
Jeff gets the money.
Is that like $100?
We're closing in on 75.
Thank you, dude. Good job.
Giving James some competition.
You're regular.
We have to pick it up.
Now that you sat down, you can get back up and do the rap.
Come on.
Come on. Are you trying to get fired?
All right. Cheryl, don't say anything. We got a little problem back there. The white chips just got put in
Yeah.
and the drum just got dumped. Okay, so we got to put the.
There's no tickets left.
Reduce my odds a lot when you throw my tickets on the floor.
It's one way to mix them up.
It's like a mission trip. When he's moving people around, he's just.
Did you get it right now? You gotta say $5.
Oh, you gotta say $5. The first winner is a $5.
That would be my time.
There's not a lot of.
Here's a 5 right here, Rob. I got a 5 right here.
Thank you.
I'll help you out. We're good.
We're good. Okay, so.
I love those sounds.
It's a $5.
No, you gotta.
No, we gotta go out of there.
You would have picked the West.
How long's it been since you've done this, Rob?
This is like. Pretty good.
216-0240.
Oh, sure, Joe. Okay, Joe. Thank you, Joe, for covering for us.
No problem. You want me to do the next pick?
This isn't being filmed, is it?
Oh, absolutely.
No, not at all.
Live stream. This is the only time I'm on Facebook.
There's a blooper reel later.
Okay. 0234.
Hey,
There you go.
oh, yeah. You wishing me luck? No.
I always wish you luck. I always wish you luck.
Do I get a gimme?
No, you
You,
don't.
you gave me a gimme out there in Arizona.
You don't get any gimmies on this one.
All right.
All right, okay.
Gotta draw the line.
Am I done now?
That completes your duties. Nicely done.
Okay. Now that we've made it through all that, thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
I'm gonna have Joe come on up if you would like to introduce our speaker for today.
All right, I appreciate everyone coming. I'm excited to have Nate come up here and speak. I started with him about 5 weeks ago, and I think it'll be very informative. I took a lot of time during COVID, some soul searching, trying to figure out where I want to go, what my next step in life was. I'm like, I want to be in healthcare, I want to do something proactive, preventative maintenance, helping to eliminate waste in the industry, and healthcare checks all those boxes. So I'm excited about it. Give you guys some insight on what he's doing, what we're doing, and the future of healthcare, what it could be. So I'll bring Nate up and speak.
I usually move around when I talk, so if you guys can't hear me or away from the microphone, just let me know. But again, my name's Baar. I'm a registered nurse. I graduated from Calvin College here locally and went and started working in the emergency department as a bedside nurse in ER over at Metro Health, now University of Michigan Southwest. And was really glad I got to cut my teeth there as a nurse, especially in the emergency department. Everybody thinks the ER is always trauma and blood and gore and all these different things. And what I found, I thought I wanted to have a career in emergency medicine. What I found was being in the ER, you're dealing with population health more than anything. We're dealing with really access issues to healthcare, people who don't have the right level of health literacy, health education, just how to take care of themselves, really. And so you see it's really kind of the melting pot of the world in a sense, where you see the whole community come to you in that emergency department. So you're seeing people from very, would say higher income levels all the way down to homelessness. And you really get to form that perspective as a clinician on what the true needs are, especially if you're talking to those patients and everything else. For me, before I got into healthcare, I thought I wanted to go into business. And so I kind of started orienting my mind towards that. But once I got into healthcare, I found that I could do business and healthcare at the same time. So one of the things I was able to do was get a position in leadership within the emergency department fairly quickly, climbed that ladder, and finally became the director of emergency and urgent care services for the organization. One of the things that allowed me to do was, there's all these things in healthcare that you see as a clinician on this side, and they tell you, don't worry about billing and don't worry about payment, don't worry about that kind of stuff, which is true. If you're sitting on the OR table, you don't want your doctor thinking about what something costs. You want them to do what you need to get done and then do it. If I'm there trying to save your life, doing CPR and those kinds of things, you don't want me to be thinking about how much something costs. In those situations where emergent, needs are there, cost shouldn't be a factor. But what I found was sitting in the boardrooms now in these healthcare institutions was what we're doing at the bedside, and then that veil that's created, and then what goes on behind the veil is very, very different. The business of healthcare is what you get exposed to on that side of things. So how does insurance work? How does billing and coding work? Why are we making certain strategic priorities and goals for a healthcare organization that truly are feel like we're going in this direction, when as a clinician, everything I'm hearing and seeing from my fellow colleagues and from my patients should be shooting in this direction. And so it was a pretty strong pull both ways. I get to experience it on the front line, but also see it behind the doors. And that kind of built where me as a clinician became disenfranchised with the system as it is. Working within the system, didn't feel like we could achieve the goals we needed to as a broader healthcare community. So through a variety of happenings, I ended up actually getting fired from Metro. The day of was the worst day of my life, but looking back at it, it was actually the best day of my life that happened. It actually freed me to do this, what Health Bar is, and what I've become passionate about, and really what I feel like is a perfect match of of what I feel like is my life's mission. And really what we're doing at Health Bar is to change, and not so much change, but create a new healthcare delivery system. So if you think of right now, your healthcare vertical, you have big healthcare institutions, you have Spectrum right there, we can stare at it. The recent merger with Beaumont, huge, massive health systems, big system. They're really, really good at treating illness, but who's working over here in this vertical to prevent illness and doing it in a way that's intentional, that's system-based, and that has a strategy behind it. And really what you see on the side over here is not a lot of money, a lot of hard work, and really trying to affect culture and behavior, which are things that the healthcare system, the way they're structured and oriented, I don't think we'll ever succeed at. We see this runaway freight train going, and you see medical bills getting out of control. You see all these different things happening. And truly, my perspective is if we're going to make it a dent and try to stop people from ever having to go to this side of that vertical, we have to do it in a much different way. So I created Health Bar to do just that. We are a nursing organization. I'm a nurse myself, and feel that, you know, the nursing profession can achieve that change. There are nearly 4 million of us in the United States alone, exponentially more worldwide. And it's really how a nurse is trained, how we think. It's more relationship-based, long-term care thinking, and systems-oriented. I don't think many people realize the hospital structure. The reason that hospital operates on a day-to-day basis is because of nurses. Nurses run units. They organize operations. They're the lifeblood of a hospital. And it's something that I think that's often overlooked. Most of healthcare innovation has been done by physicians, typically. And it typically is done through high-cost technology, tons of research. And there's, you know, don't get me wrong, that's good stuff. We need some of that stuff. But when that's your goal, is to always create the latest and greatest thing to treat an illness, you're always shifted focus from what could I do on this side to actually prevent that from happening in the first place. One of the things we say is you can spend, create something and have it cost a certain amount and then try to get that cheaper, but isn't it better if you never needed it in the first place? And so we place a heavy emphasis on that preventative side. So being a nursing organization and really starting this business, for myself, I was a team of one back in 2020 to now having, Health Bar has 42 employees, and we're creating this clinical network across the state of Michigan that has over 550 nurses in it right now. And really what we're doing is reinventing that care delivery side on the outpatient world. It's through preventative medicine. We use a blend of Western medicine and also Eastern medicine in what we do. But it's also employer-focused and school-focused programs. So we look at the business unit and truly say, what can we do in these environments that gives us access to individuals and does it on a routine relationship-based basis. It's a model that looks to, with traditional healthcare, is more of this funnel. It's a consolidated model. So talking about Spectrum and Beaumont merging, it brings everything in, and you look at it from kind of this top down, where you have independent practices funneling down into a singular system. What we're looking to do is flip that funnel over. So how do you take a consolidated system and flip it back towards opening up, to where you create independence and you create really the ability for an individual to work outside of that system and succeed. So lots of different things. And typically when I present, I like to be more interactive. So I want to stop there for a second, address a few questions, and then continue on in the story. So I just want some of your guys' thoughts and perspectives on that thus far, or questions that you have on how we got things started, but kind of doing that stepwise fashion.
Are you an appointment-based practice? Is that if we make an appointment with you?
So we do, there is on-demand style services. So we do, our main delivery units are the business, schools, and then our concierge teams. And so it can be appointment-based or on-demand. This clinical network of nurses that we've developed is meant to focus on the community as a whole, but then also, like I said, individuals like yourself too could interact with it, but more business-focused specifically. But it could be appointment-based or on-demand.
My business would contact you and you work with my employees then?
Exactly. Yeah, it's through our program. One of our main programs is called our Healthcare Partnership Program. And so what we do is we partner as the kind of like a surrogate primary care For your employees, we do preventative medicine, we do chronic disease management, we do nurse navigation, telehealth, phone triage, all those different things. But yes, yeah, we would contract directly with that business unit to provide those services. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a story behind the health bar name.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things during the kind of the journey as we went from A to Z. I remember sitting back in 2019 and sitting in in my living room and talking with my wife about I really I feel this business pull, this I see all these issues in healthcare. I want to provide these solutions to healthcare. Like how do we do that? And so we were sitting down and brainstorming, and we're going through a bunch of these different opportunities. And then we're like, well, so my last name's Baar, Nathan Baar. The idea is that I want to create a very consumeristic model of healthcare. So for you, you have an insurance plan, let's just say. Everybody has one. And you think about what you use insurance for as a product. It's risk-based. So I buy insurance for my car because I'm worried I have to by law, but then B, if I total my car, I don't want to have that complete financial loss. But you never use your car insurance unless you have an accident or something else. Typically, you can file a claim against it, but then that's going to increase your premiums next year more than likely. So one of the things I wanted to achieve was a more consumeristic model. So like the Baar components, like how do we make healthcare transparent to where you can select a healthcare service and know exactly what you're paying for? And so it kind of comes with that name, the Health Bar. But my wife actually suggested it. She's like, oh, we're trying to achieve this consumeristic, thought and appeal. Our last name's Baar. We're in healthcare, Health Bar. And so it's kind of how the evolution of the name happened. But one of the things that's unique to us too is we don't bill insurance for anything that we do. It's all a flat rate fee. The beauty of that is that we can completely control our prices in what we do. So if you ask, hey, what does this cost? We can give you a dollar amount right off the bat. So it's a menu of services in a sense. So for you as a consumer, if you have an HSA or an FSA or anything else, you can leverage those funds. Employers will typically self-funded businesses are our primary target right now. Our goal is to work in different funding methods to make it more accessible to the general public. But through an employer, they usually would subsidize the cost of that program for their employees as well. So they're offering additional health benefits to them. Other questions? Yeah.
Are all your providers nurses or some of them doctors?
We have so one of the things, I guess I'll start with saying, so large majority are nurses and nurse practitioners is the clinical delivery arm of what we do. One of the things we're working on advocacy efforts for is if you go to your doctor's office right now, you'll more than likely see a mid-level provider, a nurse practitioner, or a PA, a physician's assistant. And that's because there's fewer and fewer physicians going into primary care. But what you're seeing is that decline in primary care, but an increase in mid-level providers to help alleviate the burden of the primary care gap. So it's right now our medical structure is set up similar to that, where we have a medical director who then oversees our nurse practitioners as the primary providers, as well as the nurses. Yeah. Any other questions before I keep going? No, good. No, so one of the things we're looking to do is partner with a lot of local groups and agencies. So if you're thinking about, in my mind, when I was working in the emergency department, we were kind of the central hub, that clinical delivery unit of where people came to us. But I had to know where all the pieces and dots were of the resources I had available to us to deliver the best care to our patients. So who were my respiratory therapists, occupational therapists, PTs, OTs, laboratory services, pharmacy, all those different ancillary services, what we would call them, to be part of that network. So one of the things that I love that we're doing right now is we're acting as the Health Bar is acting as kind of that clinical hub of care. So we're the providers, the department. In that situation, we're putting together this kind of spiderweb network of ancillary providers. So we're able to partner with local independent groups that are PTs and OTs and chiropractors, laboratories, pharmacies, all these different components of our community that are operating in their own rights who are operating outside of the kind of consolidated system. And we're able to actually bring patients into our system and feed those ancillary partners. We're building, what we're doing is building those businesses through the work that we're doing as well. So it's a great way for us. One of the things that's super important for us is how do we support the communities that we're in. And so that's a component of that web and that mission base that we have. Where we're going, so right now we're mainly based in West Michigan. Our idea is if we can create a new medical model or delivery wing here in West Michigan, we could do it more than likely in a large majority of markets. There's a lot of healthcare consolidation here. If we can achieve success when we have the Spectrums and the Mercies and the U of M's around us and other systems where there's not as much competition, we should be pretty good off. And it's in how we select individuals to provide care for the business that we work with. We're not going to look, I think we've all had interactions where you call into a telehealth provider nowadays and you don't know who's on the other side of that screen. It's probably going to be some random person, or you call into your insurance company, you ask for help. You're going to get somebody different each time. One of the things that we've done in our business relationships and programs is that we're very focused on dedicated care teams, kind of creating that feel. For me is I'm a clinician in my family. So, if somebody has a bump, scrape, whatever else, they're usually calling me or sending me a text message. Hey, this just happened. What should I do? Out of fear and panic. That's a knee-jerk reaction for them because of that intimate relationship that we have as family members. We're trying to create those types of relationships with our care teams and the individuals that they're overseeing. So it becomes that first call that you have. It's not, I'm going to call into this, who knows who, or I'm going to try to set up an appointment in my doctor's office. I don't know who I'm going to see that day. We really want to focus in on that relationship component of the care we're providing to achieve, really that behavioral change that we really want to see in an individual to take charge of their own health. I'll say just a few more things and then kind of open up for more questions. But a lot of the things we get, I think that sets us apart. And one of the things I would say we're unique is, I mentioned it, our medical philosophy and how we operate. So if you talk to your doctor, they'll tell you, hey, you should sleep better, or you should eat better, or you should exercise, or you should do these different types of things. Really, they're saying it because it's cookbooked into what you would see in a traditional textbook. But what does it really mean to sleep better? What does it really mean to exercise, to eat better? We could all try to live up to, marathon standards and all these different things. Like I'm not a runner and I'm not going to become a runner. But what does appropriate exercise look like for an individual? It's where it's achievable, and you can develop incremental change through that. If people tell you need to sleep better, or I'm not sleeping well, like what does that mean? And so we talk a lot about in our programs, sleep hygiene, going to bed at the same time each night, waking up at the same time each morning, certain dietary changes that happen around when you go to bed and wake up. We talk about breathing a lot, the power of being able to, if you're breathing appropriately, people are like, oh, I breathe and I don't even think about it. It's one of those just known things, but there's actually a lot of science to breathing through your nose versus your mouth and how that impacts your health overall. So there's all kinds of nuances and nuggets like that more blend into that Eastern medicine approach. The beauty is that they have a massive impact on health and they cost $0 to do. And so those types of things that we really help our clients achieve better health status. So it's kind of a broad shotgun approach. You guys probably still have no idea what we do after this, but it's taking little pieces and parts and trying to kind of open people's minds up to the fact that there is a new system and movement being created outside of the traditional medical model, because we've gotten ourselves into a really out of control death spiral in healthcare where we're not getting healthier. Cost is going up and something's got to give. And so a lot of the work we're doing is longer term work that's going to take time and effort, but it's community based, it's relationship based, and it's focused on changing really from a core level how people see healthcare and how they utilize healthcare at the beginning of the day. So there's, like I said, there's tons of momentum, and I think you'll start seeing in the coming years more and more attention being placed on this side. Right now, traditional healthcare is getting all the attention, but there's a coming wave. We're at part of it, along with many other care providers who are operating in the same similar goals and mindsets as us. So,
You mind if I
yeah.
say? Oh,
You're, I'm not sure, the traditional insurance carrier, so you'd have to, an individual
Yeah.
wanting to deal with you is gonna have to self-insure, so to speak.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly right. Yep. The trend that we're looking at is, so it's an unsustainable trend. Every year you probably notice your insurance premium is going up and up and up. So you're spending more and more. If you have a fully funded plan is what they call them, your base level premium is going to keep escalating 5, 10, 15%, depending on the year. What insurance companies will do then is get you down, say, okay, well, we can get your premium down, but you're going to take on more risk. And so you have an HSA now, it's where your deductible is 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. Your premium still is down farther, so the money you're basically paying every month and not seeing anything for necessarily is down, but then they're saying, all right, you're going to keep a pot of money yourself, and you're going to decide how you want to spend that on healthcare services. And so that's how, in a business model where we work with businesses who are self-funded, it's a very similar model as they carry base level insurance for their employees, and they have a kind of catastrophic stop loss up here. They have a lot of cash in the middle, and then we offer lower cost healthcare solutions that then make that money go longer or not exhausted at all. Our idea is to say you can pay for all your healthcare needs on this without keeping more in your pocket. So for that business, they get to keep an extra $100,000, $200,000 a year reinvested in their business and or their workforce. On an individual side, very similar, as you would be self-funding your own care. Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Is there a point in illness or disease where preventative care maybe wouldn't work or doesn't make sense?
Mm-hmm. There's definitely things from a scope of practice, we know we're not looking to compete with healthcare. We're looking to reduce somebody's need to even go and use healthcare in the first place. So there are situations where if it's, an invasive procedure, surgical, complex medications, things like that we just don't cross over into. Our goal when we start working with a workforce or an individual is to say, what are your risk factors? What are you currently being treated for? How do we start hitting some of these things and getting you to a point where you don't have to take those medications anymore, where your risk profile goes way down to where hopefully any instance of disease exacerbation just doesn't take place.
Do you guys have any work with potentially a person that would be, say, diagnosed with cancer, something that is more curable cancer? And I've heard of, there's preventative ways or there's the way of, chemo and stuff. Is that something that you guys would deal with?
Yeah, a lot of if it's an individual who's going through that journey, difficult no matter way you slice it and dice it. But if you look at, different success stories, you've seen individuals get terminal diagnosis and turn around doing more natural methods. And a lot of it's what we believe too is, what you put into your body makes a massive difference in how you're, how you're sleeping, how you're breathing, how you're doing all that stuff. So we wouldn't, ever say, we would present individuals an option, say, here's things you can do, here's some ways you can manage some of these different, symptoms of progressive illness, but we wouldn't ever say don't. It's always a choice kind of situation, and how do you, it's still, and this is why the traditional system just doesn't want to accept it, because a lot of the stuff that happens over on I would say more of the nutritional Eastern medicine side is, say, anecdotal, story-based, whereas Western medicine is very entrenched on evidence-based. And so it's studies and all these things, which is good, but it leaves out a lot of these things over here that actually do have merit from a treatment standpoint. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So me being on Medicare, paying supplemental, my cost is $10 a month, not too bad. So what would there be an advantage to use your services, though I'm getting a yearly physical and healthy and have a doc that seems to be very attentive to preventive care?
Yeah, for us too, it's that empowerment model. So for you, or an individual who has a good control over their health, and knows how to take care of themselves, then there may not be as much of an advantage. If there was an as needed for you, there would be a service. Is that more convenient than you going to your doctor's office? Definitely could be. Within the business, we're developing out a kind of a new acute injury illness delivery option, to where if you take an oil change, a bank, and an urgent care and smash them all together, we're developing this drive-through medical center strategy. So we have a facility on 412 Fuller right down the road, another one at 5020 Beltline, and then over in Holland. They're old banks, and we're converting them to urgent cares and working on custom built floor plans for those. But how do you make something so accessible and consumeristic in a sense, to where, you know, you have a kid with an ear infection, or you need to get your blood drawn for labs. So instead of you getting out of your vehicle to go into an outpatient draw center, you can just stop in your car, get your blood drawn, and drive away. How do you make it that easy, that accessible? And that's baked into everything that we're doing right now. Is how do you really improve upon the system to make it as consumer friendly? So from a long-term health standpoint, if you're, you know, if you have a good handle on some of those more preventative health strategies or things that are going to optimize your health, you know, at this stage, then, you know, we probably wouldn't add a ton of value other than just being more convenient. But us not accepting insurance, it would be kind of a cost addition. So it'd be more of that convenience fee component. Yeah. But definitely, time is money. So you can save 3 hours, you know, going to one of our services versus an urgent care. That's valuable. You know, and if you wake up every morning feeling like $1 million instead of $1,000, then that's something too.
I just have something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Nate touched on this already, but it's like you said, we're not trying to replace, Healthcare is not trying to replace the PCP or specialists or urgent care. You still need all of them, but it's how people in bridging that gap and offering proactive services and preventative maintenance. There's what's the percentage of people out there that don't even have a PCP? 60.
A lot.
And they only go to the doctor when they're sick, which is the problem. So when they get sick, if they don't have a PCP, they go to urgent care. They go to ER, where to them, it's not costing them any money, but to their employer who's paying $2,000 for that visit, it's a huge waste. So we're trying to bridge that gap and trying to change the mindset of how people utilize the services, and we're going to be wasting the industry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's cost. I mean, there was a great article in my book about just this week, and it was insurers, Blue Cross's priorities, these different groups are planning on increasing premiums for the coming year because of all the free care they gave out during the pandemic. So, you know, immunizations that were free and tests that were free and all these other things that were free are now going to come back and hit you all with increased premiums. And so, unfortunately, at the end of the day, the insurance companies are businesses within healthcare that are looking to recoup lost revenue. And so it's one of those things. It's a you know, cat and mouse game for them in that situation. Yeah.
Do you envision insurance companies coming around and starting to participate with groups like you, or is that probably not a thing?
They probably won't. You go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was saying, I think it's also a matter of, if we chose to work with insurance companies, they work with us in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
We choose not to.
Yes.
So it's not that our services aren't reimbursable. If you came through our urgent care center right now and said, hey, I want a receipt so I can go get reimbursement from my insurance for what I paid you today, we'll gladly provide that to you. We're not going to work with insurance, bill insurance, for some of the reasons that you hear. So it's really fine. It gives us a lot more flexibility, as well as one of the biggest pieces of that transparent rates about. Once you start billing insurance, you lose that.
Yeah, it's a strange world. If you look at, you know, there is, I hate demonizing the healthcare systems. There's so much good stuff they do, and the people that work there, they're amazing professionals. It's when you get down to the business of healthcare, this is where decisions are being made by insurance companies and higher level individuals who are looking at strategic plans that create financial bottom line matters. They're looking at, right, my margin's 4%, how I get 6%. If you look at how there's actually another really good study comparing nonprofit hospitals and for-profit hospitals, and the amount of unreimbursed care that a nonprofit hospital provides to a community versus a for-profit hospital is actually less. And so for-profit hospitals actually give out more free care than nonprofit hospitals do. Yet nonprofits use it as a reason to be a nonprofit. And so you start stacking everything up and you look at even those comparisons of for nonprofit systems, and you really can start seeing there's not much difference, and they're both run very, very similarly. There's the I don't know if you have Priority Health fans out there, but the Priority Health and Spectrum play is another, I think, significant conflict of interest within the healthcare system, and even the Spectrum Beaumont merger. There's a lot of opinions surrounding a lot of it. My opinion is that it's a terrible thing. You can look at a bunch of data from healthcare mergers and acquisitions, and every time it happens, cost goes up and outcomes get worse and access gets harder. So there's really no good way to justify it if you look at the data, but sometimes it's not always down to that as a decision making. Yeah.
How does that compare to what's now the concierge doctor type deal?
Yeah, we get all the time, and I love it because we'll go and we'll talk to a business and say, here's what we do, and here's how we do it, and here's how we're going to support you. Like, well, there's concierge doctors out there. Completely true. They typically charge very high fees to have access to them. So it's, it could be X number of dollars per year or per month or whatever else they bill. And traditionally not available to a larger group of individuals. And honestly, a lot of times the individuals who need the most won't have access. So it's, depending on what socioeconomic status we're working with or income level. I think one of the things I love the most is we're going to start working with a company on the south side of Grand Rapids here, a manufacturer, and a large majority of their workforce, it's a transient workforce that doesn't have a PCP, that has a very high utilization of the emergency department and hospital admissions. And it's because you have a workforce that is not very health literate. They don't know how to access healthcare appropriately, and they're scared of the healthcare system because they're just not used to it. And so they're using these very high cost access points of healthcare. They're not adopting good health habits, but they would never have access to concierge medical care. We're going to bring it to them. So now they're going to be able to have care in their home and in their business and have that high level of accessibility. So it's a really awesome way of bringing a high-end benefit to somebody at the lowest levels of the economic status. So, there's that, and direct primary care is another model that people liken us to, things like that. So, but yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
Actually, we normally introduce guests. Do you want to introduce yours?
Yeah.
So Mike Lamonaco is our Director of Sales and Marketing. Mike joined back now. So Mike was one of the early believers. I had to join. But we built up just some amazing team members, bringing Joe on as our sales executive to really help push that partnership program and concierge services for employers. We're really excited about how that's
All right. Well, thank you. And as a thanks for being here, we always try to color match our mug to our guests. Thank you. All right, and then one more reminder that we do have our service project tomorrow night, 6:30 to 8:30, looking for more volunteers. And with that, we're adjourned.
Remember to grab your green ticket.
Get your green tickets on the way out.
Is that the lemon flavor?
I was a little before. Oh, see you right.